I'm really excited to have Joe here. I come from a family of surfers. My 9-year-old is carrying on the tradition. Father grew up in Pasadena, longboard surfer his whole life, all through California. My brother's been to Chopu and all these incredible places. And so when I heard about this show, I fell in love with it. Obviously, it's fun to watch big wave surfers because they're incredible. They're, probably a little screw loose to do what they do, but they're amazing. And so I had reached out to Joe, who runs Amplify Pictures.
Either's good, but Amplify Pictures.
Amplify Pictures.
We're one of the 3 companies behind the show.
Beautiful. And we're just going to talk about it. So you just saw the episode Partners, part of season 2. There's a season 3 that'll be coming out, and they're going to start working on a season 4. So this show is going to be around. It's really special. Hi, Joe.
Hi.
Hi. And it's pretty fun. My 9-year-old daughter, who Harry and some of you know, also sent in questions. So we've got a lot of questions for Joe. But Joe, I want to know, you told me a little bit, how did this series start?
Sure. So the series started because Nicole McNamara, who you just saw give birth on screen, who's married to Garrett, is actually my wife's second cousin through a fluke of family, and they came to me to ask me for advice in early 2019, and I gave them some advice before. I'd always been mostly a scripted TV executive, and I'd touched on documentaries a little, but hadn't done them a lot, and gave them some advice. They asked me to produce it. I had known the director for a number of years, but we hadn't worked together, and brought it to him, and we sat and Zoomed with Garrett and Nicole, and 2 weeks later we started shooting, and that was in July 2019, and we haven't stopped shooting since.
So Nazaré, before I ask you about your experience, this is a tiny town in Portugal. They don't always have crowds like what we see, of course, and it's hard to predict the swells. But when did Nazaré really get on the map with big wave surfers?
So if you see the first season, in 2010 and 11, so the town was a ghost town in the winter, and to revive tourism, a local person who had been looking at these waves his whole life had an idea. If they could bring a big wave surfer in and he could surf them, then that could help restart tourism. He found Garrett through his website, and he reached out to Garrett, who was crazy enough to try it and came out there. And for decades, I mean, this was a fishing village, and the waves were a terrifying thing. The waves weren't great for fishing conditions. So many people in Nazaré have lost family in the waves, so the waves were really not a good thing in the town. But this local guy named Dino had an idea to bring a big wave surfer in, and if he could surf it, maybe it would change the fortune of the town in the winter. And the plan just worked exceptionally well. They brought Garrett in. It took him a few months to figure out how he did it, and then over the next few years, the town just got bigger and bigger and bigger till what you see here. And there's 40,000 people on the cliff during a big swell, and just a local tourism plan gone incredibly well.
That's fantastic. And so tell me about, I want to know, he's been in the water there, by the way. We'll talk about that, but what was it like the first time you stood on that cliff and saw the swells that we all see?
It's not a letdown. It's insane. The waves are gigantic. It's just the whole thing exists. That you're at this old lighthouse, standing over these incredibly huge waves that are breaking so close to shore. It's really, really insane to see in person, and just knowing the footage so well and seeing the evolution of it, and knowing that lighthouse was for 500 years and nobody went in it for the last 200, and to see it now being a huge museum that sees tens of thousands of people a year it's been crazy. But anyway, the waves are amazing to see. And then one time I did go out on a jet ski with Garrett, and I sat on the back of one, and only a 30 or 40 foot day, and it was terrifying. I couldn't pay attention to anything except trying to live. So I'll let you know if I go again, if it was actually fun. But it seems fun when I see it on video.
Yeah, only a 30, 40 foot day. That is terrifying just in and of itself. And these are 100-foot waves. You might all know this. I know a little bit. How do they measure waves? A lot of people are like, is it really 100? I mean, how do they measure?
It's an imprecise system. So essentially they take a picture of the surfer on the wave, and they try, knowing the surfer's height and the size they are when they crouch, they try to measure how they are, and then they try to guess how many surfers it would take to measure a height of the wave. there are lots of people working on other systems. It's incredibly imprecise. There's a good chance a bigger than 100-foot wave has been surfed. A lot of the surfers would say they think it has, and just the measurement hasn't caught up. The current world record is 86 feet set by Sebastian Steudner, who's a German surfer at Nazare. And officially no 100-foot wave has been surfed yet.
Maybe season 4.
I hope. I used to hope it
If
would
we
happen.
can manufacture
Now I hope
that.
it's season 10. I want it to go forever.
Okay, good. Season 10. We'll put that out
20.
there.
Season 20.
Season 20.
1 foot increments.
I love it. So I'm going to read well, I don't have to read it. My daughter, who's 9, and I was telling Joe, aspires to be either a professional soccer player or professional surfer one day. And I said, do you have a question for Joe? She loves the show. It's really something for all ages. And we'll talk about the character development, which is really beautiful. There's such heart to this show. But she wanted to know, from your experience, not personally, but speaking to the surfers, what does it feel like to wipe out on a 80-plus foot wave?
I'll answer for the surfers, but not for myself. I can answer on a 4-foot wave, and it's terrifying. Either it knocks you down and you're held underwater and you don't know if you're going to hit the bottom or when it's going to come up. And, it's a real traumatic event. I mean, it's a car crash for the surfers that have gone through it, that has lingering effects. Garrett told me that when you're underwater and you think you're completely out of air, that you always have 1 more minute of air, and that somehow is his way of getting through it, and that seems to help some other surfers. But it seems like a violent car crash, and you're just flipping over, and it probably feels like a very long time. But since the invention of what they call a survival suit, which is an inflatable suit that the surfers wear, there haven't been any deaths in Nazareth. There haven't been any deaths when people were wearing one of those suits.
How long have they been using those suits?
I don't know for sure, but 5 to 7 years. I mean, there were.
So not that long ago.
No, it's a new invention, and I've seen other versions of things that I haven't seen out there yet. Garrett showed me some suit that has oxygen that you can breathe into while you're underwater. It was almost all the surfers that I know aren't just big wave chasers. They're also real safety nuts. Like they really take the safety side seriously. The best surfers take everybody's safety seriously, but it's still incredibly terrifying. And I don't know how people do that.
Tell me a little bit about the people who drive the jet skis. The people who tow them in is a very precise thing, and it's right. I mean, that's not an easy job to do.
Yeah, they're all incredible. They're, as talented as the surfers. There's a few key people in Nazare who are the best at it. The surfers put their lives in their hands. They're all really interesting people. Alamau, I don't remember if he was in this episode. There's a Brazilian who's just the best. And, there are people who have been there so long and just take care of everybody. Or Fred David, who's Justine DuPont's boyfriend and part-time tow partner. Just a great driver and, again, looking out for everyone out there. Other surfers also do a lot of safety. So the drivers do a lot of safety and their safety skis, but other surfers, Lucas Jumbo, Sebastian, have really, really, really done a lot in terms of safety, and for the most part, everyone just really takes care of each other out there.
Especially in the episode we just saw, Partners. I mean, the way that the characters have developed. This isn't just a surf show would be fantastic, but it is such a beautiful analysis of these characters and these relationships, and especially since this is family for you, it's got to be a little bit scary, as for the partners of these surfers. But they're so supportive, and surfing is so spiritual. I mean, just tell us a little bit, like your experience evolving with these human beings who are doing incredible things.
Yeah, I just genuinely love all of them. I think they're all just such incredible people. I'm not a surfer. I don't come from the surf world, and I do it terribly once in a rare while, and I feel like they're just so I don't have anything to compare it to, is my point, within other surfers. But as a group, they all seem like uniquely smart and daring and creative, and I just really consider a lot of them friends now, and just really like just love the group of people that go there and dedicate themselves to this. And I don't think you can dedicate yourself to it fully without having some spiritual spiritual side, or you've just been something's thrown you around a lot and you survived. And I just think they're all really interesting, smart people, and they trust us a lot to make the show, and we try to do good by them and the sport, and still make a show that's absolutely truthful and true to the world and the situation. But I don't think I just can't say enough good things about the surfers in real life, and they're exactly how they are in the show too. It is a really there's no on camera, off camera. Garrett is like that, whether there's a camera or not, and everybody. Justine is inspiring, whether there's a camera on or not. They're just all.
You definitely get that sense that they are real, and whether the camera's there or not, this is just who they are. Surfers are special.
Yeah, when I see a camera, I'm just very aware of it and have to perform. And they're just good at being themselves.
Yeah. So Tony, young gentleman who grew up in Nazaré, right? He grew up there?
Yeah, he moved there when he was young, but grew up there.
Is he one of the youngest surfing out at Nazaré right now?
I think so. I don't know everyone out there.
Yeah.
There's some other, surfers around his age, but, he was doing it from the time he was 13, 14, maybe even younger. He's been out, he has the most experience of any young person, and might still be the youngest out there, and, continues to just charge and, really dedicated his life to it. And, he's a special character and a great person.
I mean, so many surfers, most of them, if they're really dedicated, are very spiritual, and the ocean they respect it. I mean, it just kind of transcends sport. And I think that was really insightful and probably hard for Tony to talk about in the show, his little sister, and how that's, he really, to calm his brain, got out there. Was that a hard thing for him to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to answer for him there. I think it's a very traumatic situation for the family, and, I think Tony's made something amazing out of it for himself. But it's definitely not the most enjoyable subject.
Yeah, of course. We'll have to get some of the surfers. I would love. It is my goal we got to get Garrett out here at some point.
I feel like that can happen at some point.
It would be wonderful.
They travel a lot.
Yeah, of course. So let's see. This has been such a journey. You're done with season 3?
We're editing season 3 right now. Season 1, obviously, season 1 covered 10 years or so, really 30 or 40 years of Garrett's life, but 10 years in Nazaré. Season 2 covers 2 full surf seasons, each for 3 episodes. And season 3, I think, will be entirely, this could change, but I think entirely last year's surf season, because a lot of stuff happened. And so we're editing it right now. It takes us a very long time to edit the show. The first season took 18 months to edit. It was originally a movie that became a TV show in the edit. We put together the first assemble, and it was 5.5 hours long, and it was all pretty good. It was still very rough, but there were no huge parts that was obvious that we should cut. So Chris, our director, had the great idea at the time to put main titles and end titles every 45 minutes or so, and it just worked from the beginning. So it became and then it became a series then. But anyway, so the first year covered 10, second year 2 seasons, and third year we'll start to get the first cuts in a month or so. I've seen a little bit, and I think it's going to be really, really good. I mean, it's just a very fun subject to shoot and watch and edit, and I have not gotten tired of it yet. I have a very short attention span.
I mean, I don't know how you can get tired of the stuff that you're filming. It's incredible.
There's a lot of hours of it. We shoot, I think we shot almost 3,200, 3,300 hours for the second season. So, from 3,300 hours, we have to get down to 5.5. There's a lot that ends up getting cut.
Well, yeah, that's why it took you 18 months to edit it. That is a lot of work to do.
It's a lot of moving water, yeah.
And knock on wood, we are close to getting everyone back to work again, so...
Seems like it.
That's very positive.
Yeah, although, we got to get the actors back to work.
Yes, let's do that. So my dad also sent in some questions. He knew the person interviewing Joe today. So I thought this was pretty interesting. Do big wave riders, you're speaking for the surfers, do they still enjoy surfing the smaller waves? Is it they just love to surf, or is it like that's what their focus is?
I think they just love to surf. I think they found the secret to life that hopefully, it's just they do what they love. They do what they love, and they do it all the time, and they make enough money to do it, and it's a really unique, special life. I think they probably enjoy a mix of waves. They would say. I think Garrett's only going to go out when it's really great conditions. But yeah, I think surfers love to surf, and it is what they've truly dedicated themselves to.
I love what he said about Beryl. Like, Beryl's got the chance to be a pro surfer, and he said it like with a question mark. It's the best job on the planet, I think. Yeah.
I love that part. Yeah, we'll see. They're all really good. Beryl's a really good surfer. Well, there's a lot of surfers in the McNamara family.
Yeah.
His nephew, he has some great, other great surfers there, and we'll see.
Yeah.
I think Beryl likes to fish as much as he does surf.
Water baby. I love it. What have you, well, two kind of experience questions I would love to hear, but from any of the surfers you've worked with, any notable, like what some of their like just most terrifying moments? I mean, CJ, we've seen a ton of them through the show, but any stories that stick out?
The CJ's was crazy. There's one that's not in the show because it happened too long ago, but a surfer named Ross Clark Jones got washed up on the rocks at Nazare, and it's just the last place that you want to be. In the episode after this one, CJ, the brother, gets in a horrible accident on a gigantic wave that he's still recovering from now, and still has arm stuff that he's mostly recovered, but has some arm things, and just a crazy accident. The craziest one, Garrett's accident that you see in season 1 that happened in Mavericks in Northern California, where he shattered his shoulder, is just crazy because he skips along the water. I don't know. They've all seemed crazy. Justine, I don't want to spoil the end of the season, but Justine has an accident, and I think not the world's worst, but just timing was terrible of it in the middle of a competition. Yeah, it's just it's a real thing that can change the trajectory of the careers, but they also work really. I've seen so many of them have accidents and just come back and work. Justine worked ridiculously hard, which you can see a little in the show, and it just keeps going.
I would ask why they, you take a spill like that and you go back. But obviously, you said it, it's their love, and they've kind of found the secret of life, and the ocean is their spiritual partner, so to speak. Why?
I just think it's so crazy that they can't think about other stuff, so they seem calm. They feel good for a second. I think Tony's not the only one who, surfs for distraction. I'm sure Garrett does it for the same reason. The same reason that I work. You just want to get outside yourself and get overwhelmed with something once in a while.
Yeah, we were chatting. The show is such a beautiful escape for so many people. I'll never get on a wave like that, not even close. Like you said,
I should do it. You should get on.
Yeah, I will. I would love to go to Nazare and see it. So
it's worth going to see. It's a long flight from LA, but it's worth it. Just it's hard to time with the waves.
Yeah, the science behind that and what you've experienced, figuring out when the swells are, the kind of general season, but they're tracking these swells. And these surfers just get on planes and they're just out there. It seems like it's in real time, like the next day. Yeah,
it's hard. It really is the next, 2 or 3 days. Like a week out, you could be, 50-50 on a storm hitting. And so the surfers just live their lives trying to chase these swells. But a swell can easily look like it's going to happen and not happen. And even if it's going to happen, you don't have a lot of indication more than a week out. And you're just always waiting, and even shooting it, it's not like a football game where we can go schedule a bunch of camera people to show up at 3:00 on a Sunday. We just have to be waiting for the full year with cameras, with people ready to shoot everything, which is exciting, but also part of the challenge.
By the way, feel free to interrupt me if anyone has any questions for... Great.
Please.
We're going to have you repeat the question.
No problem. I'll repeat it.
So
our question is, how many drones, Joe, did you have up at one time, and how big was your crew?
So the drone question, they're both good. The drones have made the show look so much better. We usually have two drones, not up at the same time though. One drone will be out there, and one drone will be charging, and then they come swap them. Although right now in the third season, I think a couple days we had two drones, and right now we're trying to decide if we're going to have two drones for the new season or shoot it some other way. And the drone photography. We were really lucky. We won a cinematography Emmy for season 1, but I think the cinematography got so much better in season 2, in part because we got a much bigger, much better drone. In season 1, it was all a one-person drone, and season 2 was a two-person drone where one person flies it and one person operates the camera. So you can have a longer lens, and it just everything looks much better. Yeah, I think and even within season 2, the last 3 episodes look to me a lot better, the drone footage, than the first 3. It's the same person. He just got better. The technology got better. So that's the drone. We probably have 6 to 8. It's a lot. It's a big crew. On a normal day throughout the year, we usually have 6 people or so shooting. Some days it could be up to 8 if there's other stuff happening, and we bring in a couple people who aren't full time, and that's the people shooting Verite, and Garrett, the McNamara's have a camera person with them full time. Cotty has a camera person with them full time. Justine and Fred, everybody has camera people with them. The McNamara's probably are the only ones who are being shot 24/7, but everyone else, there's 6 to 8 of those people, and then during a swell, it could be another 4 to 6 people shooting the ocean. So we usually have 3 to 5 land cinematographers with really long lenses shooting from around the lighthouse down around the cliff, then 1 or 2 drones in the air, and then we have a very good jet ski camera person who sits on the back of a jet ski and holds a camera, named Laurent. He was an ex-pro surfer turned cinematographer who aged out of surfing but didn't want to get off waves and picked up a camera. And so yeah, we have a big crew. And then even then you still just miss things because there's no way to time it. Yeah, so there's 3 to 5 cameras on land with incredibly telephoto lenses, and there's guys who just sit there all day for 8 hours on the cameras, on hundreds of lenses that are hundreds of millimeters long, and just wait. So yeah, really, really long telephoto, and I wish we could get telephoto on the ocean with the jet ski camera, but it's too bumpy out there. But that's the thing we're working on, is try to have longer lenses but still be in the water. Yeah, I hope season 4 looks better, but this looks great too. I'm very, very happy with it.
It all looks great. It all looks incredible. So you were saying, obviously you can't just schedule like a football game. We know this is happening. You got to wait, and then Mother Nature is literally telling you when you can film this. How long are you guys out there? I know you're going next week, right?
I'm going the first week of November. The season starts in mid-October, the big wave season. So the time period in which the big waves typically come is mid-October to the end of March. And usually the first part of the year is the most active, but doesn't always happen that way. And then we'll shoot the full year. I'll go out for 2 or 3 weeks usually a season and just try to be around and see what's happening. And yeah.
Amazing. So I grew up watching Laird Hamilton, if everyone's heard of Laird, big wave surfer. Has Laird surfed Nazare?
Yeah, he's been out there. I think he foiled out there. I don't know when it was. There was a hour-long surf doc by a director named Nuno Diaz. I think that was about Laird surfing at Nazare, and I think it was called Foil, but I could be off.
Amazing.
Yes. Like where it barrels over and you surf under the barrel?
Yeah, does the wave ever give you that barrel in Nazare?
Sometimes, not as much as other places like Pipeline, like Chopu and Tahiti, which is another spot. It does happen though. In season 1, Kai Lenny, who's maybe the best big wave surfer in the world, has an amazing barrel at the surf competition. Then it happens. It's hard. It's rare. It's dangerous too, because you can. If you mistime it, there's Cotty, and you'll see in season 1 he was I don't know what he was trying to do, but he got hit by the wave as it was barreling instead of being inside, and was a big injury for him.
the breath work that you were telling me when you have another minute, like I could probably barely hold my breath for that entire minute before
you got one more.
emergency minute.
In episode 3 of this season 2, episode 3, there's a shot. Justine goes to Hawaii, and there's a great shot of her from a GoPro camera attached to her surfboard, from inside the barrel, and it's very hard to get shots inside the pipeline, inside the barrel, as you'd imagine, but it's really cool to just see it wash over her, and it's an amazing wave.
Another question.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Very many women there.
Not as many, but there's some out there for sure. Justine, who's
So
on the show.
he was asking, just for everyone to hear, if you can't hear on the broadcast, are there a lot of women out there? I mean, we see Justine, and he's going to talk about like Maya as well, but yeah, kind of what's the diversity and gender makeup?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's probably 85% male, 90%. It's a lot of guys out there, but there's a few women who have been on the show. Maya Gabeira, who's a Brazilian big wave surfer, who I think has the women's world record right now, is incredible. She surfs in Ezra. She was in the first season. Justine Dupont, who's in the show, is incredible. And there's another Brazilian surfer named Michelle de Bouillon, who's up and coming and charging, and is a really great surfer too, and a couple others, but it's predominantly a bunch of guys out there, and but everyone there gets along. I mean, the wave doesn't care if you're a man or a woman. Anyone who can surf out there is respected by everyone else who's out there.
So just a couple quick things, because we've got Joe here to talk about 100-foot wave, and Joe's a new friend at MPTF and come to some of our events and saw the beautiful campus. You're working on some other, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you? What else are you working on right now? You've got some fun things happening.
Sure. Before this, I'd done mostly scripted series. I produced Fleabag. I produced Transparent. Produced another show called Too Old to Die Young. I started Amazon Studios on the TV side and ran that for a number of years. And I had done Amazon's first 2 doc series. One was about the Grateful Dead called Long Strange Trip, which I'll recommend. And one was called The New Yorker Presents that we did with the magazine. So I didn't have a big doc background, but now, after 100-foot wave, we do a lot more documentaries. We have one that'll be out next year that's about, at the University of Texas, 2 competitive Bollywood dance teams. That'll be on one of the Disney networks next year. That's really good. I have a show that we're co-producing on Broadway right now called Gutenberg the Musical. Done a little bit of Broadway in the past. Did co-produced a show last year called A Strange Loop that won the Tony for Best Musical. And doing a few working on, the only thing my company and I don't do is our movies, scripted movies. We do doc features. There's just too much competition, and I like long stories. I like TV. I like when a story works and it just keeps going, and I just love long narratives personally, and I just love the business of TV and always have a little bit more than movies, even though that's what I moved out here to do. So we finance things. I mean, the thing that makes me and my company most different is that we're trying to finance television like independent films. So we'll pay for a season of TV without a network on board, and then we'll license it to them after. 100-foot wave was made this way, and it just feels like the next evolution of television, which will just be copying what happened in film.
Yeah, Harry and I are shaking our head because it's unbelievable how many things you do. That was a very long list.
I get mad at all the things
projects.
I don't, so it balances out.
Unbelievable. Well, I know we've got to cut this short, or not short. This has been an incredible
thanks
hour
everyone
and a
for
half.
staying.
Joe, you're fantastic.
Thanks.
We look forward to season 3, season 4, season 20.
Tell your friends to watch season 1 and 2. Look out for season 3.
We'll have you back. We'll bring some of the surfers out here, hopefully. But
Definitely.
round of applause for Joe Lewis,
Well,
please.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks for having me.